Jeff Rycebosch, fellow competitor, longtime friend, carry optics master. This podcast was made possible by our sponsors, FT3, Orange County's premier indoor shooting range, and Pinnacle Firearms Training, CCW, Fundamentals, and Advanced Gun Handling. Live defensively minded. What's going on? My name is Paul G., Chief Safety Officer for the IDPA. This channel will help you clarify IDP rules, shooting techniques, and inform you of the newest gear and what's going on in the shooting community. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Please welcome the amazing Jeff Rycebosch. What's going on?
What's going on, Paul?
So the weather is getting really warm outside, right?
Yeah. Where I'm at, we're well above, 110 over the last few days. So I think yesterday we were probably in the 110s. So I don't know exactly what we got to, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice down here.
So what's the difference between dry and wet heat?
Well,
because they always tell you.
I mean, you just don't have that humidity. So the humidity really kind of intensifies the heat. Where we're at, it's a lot more dry. So in that respect, it's nice. It's not as bad as it could be. And we do get a little bit of a breeze in the afternoon. I say breeze, but like 25 to 30 mile an hour winds on a daily basis where I'm at in the Antelope Valley. But, but now it's kind of welcome because you want that breeze,
Yes.
It's just too hot.
It just takes the heat away from your body.
It does. Absolutely. It helps out a little bit. Yeah, it definitely cools things off. But
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I've been trying to get you out to do a podcast for, I would have to say probably since the beginning of the channel. I am a huge fan of yours.
I'm a huge fan of yours, Paul. I mean, I watch all your episodes.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I enjoy this whole everything that you've done with this so far. So I'm honored to be here. Man.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. So
and I'm a fan of yours too.
So you and I actually competed quite a bit when we were up and coming, right? So ESP
yes,
for the longest time.
Yeah.
Have you shot anything other than ESP? Or?
Oh man.
Well, carry optic now.
I shot CCP in the beginning. So when I started shooting, I was shooting a Glock 19 and shooting CCP.
Did you? What do you think about the Glock 19?
Man, I'm a huge Glock guy. I think just because that's what I ran early on were Glocks. And there's just so much out there that you can do to them to really make them, at least what I got comfortable shooting, as far as triggers and guide rods and springs and everything. So I mean, I shot a 19 and then I shot a 34.
Were you successful with the Glock?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I still love my 34. I've moved on to the Atlas 2011 at this point. So
you're getting into some machining work now.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't know. Well, when I first started, it was a Glock as well, 17, and I tried to shoot it. I just couldn't get to shoot straight. So I went to Bob Vogel, right?
Yeah,
and he taught me his vice grip support, and I was holding on the gun so hard that it would stop the slide. That's how hard I was holding on to the thing, right? And still, it was something like that, right? In my groupings, and in IDPA, that's just not good enough, right?
Yeah, it's not. Sometimes. I mean, I have that same experience, I think, and I don't want to blame it on. I mean, one of the things that I thought really helped Glocks shoot better is their new barrels, so the Gen 5 barrels. So when I moved to the 34, I got a Gen 5 34 and started shooting, and I found that barrel tended to be a lot more accurate, especially at distance.
Yes.
So even my 19, I still have the same 19 that I started with. Right. It's got because you can put the Gen 5s, the barrels in the 19. Yeah. So I put one in there, and I've just had a lot more success with those barrels. And I don't know if that, how it usually comes down to it ultimately. They say so
34s, any cant. I noticed that Glocks, you always have a cant versus the 1911s, a little bit more up and down.
Right. That was the biggest adjustment for me going from that Glock grip to the 2011.
Because I noticed that cant will actually change your posture as well, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and you know how it is when you get really accustomed to a gun. You change and you build everything around that, and that's why it's I see a lot of these guys going back and forth between like you. I mean, you go, and it's amazing because you're successful with no matter what you shoot, which is awesome.
I appreciate that.
I think I would struggle a lot more. I mean, just going from the Glock to the 2011 was an adjustment period for me, learning to, obviously the grip, but like you said, your posture, everything changes, in your sight picture.
I know our dear friend Jason Miyashiro, right? So he's a big component about posture, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of that has to do with the relieving fatigue as well as being consistent, right?
Absolutely. So, oh man, Jason, a huge fan of Jason. Yes. He was one of the biggest influences on me, along with a lot of those guys in Squad 1, Dean and Lupe and John and Howard and everybody. But and he's now shooting the staccato, which I thought was an interesting transition for him.
From a 34,
he went 34, and then he started shooting the SIG, the X5, he shot for a while. But I mean, honestly, that kid could probably shoot any gun, and he's like you. He can be successful with just about anything.
I would have to agree.
He's so good at quickly figuring out what he needs to do to be good with whatever he's shooting. And then he puts the time in. I mean, if there's anybody who puts time in dry firing at the range, whatever, it's definitely Jason. I mean, that's one thing I learned from him early on is dry fire. And that's one of the first things, when I started shooting with those guys in Squad 1 that, Dean would be like, Jason dry fires constantly, and he's got a really cool setup. He had a cool setup in his backyard with his targets and stuff. And that to me was like key as well to getting better is dry fire.
Absolutely.
So I still today, I dry fire at least 15 or 20 minutes a day, every day. I mean, I mean, of course, it's not always welcome with my wife because I set up a whole dry fire dojo in my living room and down our hall, which I think we all she's adjusted and gotten used to it. Right. But I think now she's, she'll sit on the couch, if she's home, she's not working that day, and she'll just kind of sit back and let me do my thing, which I'm very thankful for. Yeah. But it's been huge dry firing. I think that's a big part of it. But
she's a nurse.
She's a nurse. Yeah.
So she works.
She's an ER charge nurse. I don't know how she does what she does.
She does days or nights?
She does days.
Oh, thank God for that.
She started out early on doing nights, and glad she doesn't anymore because it was when we'd want to do things I had to adjust to her schedule early on, and that was a lot of late nights because that's when she's awake. But it's much nicer working days.
Oh man,
and less crazy, I think. But RER, where I'm at out in the Antelope Valley, it's one of the it's one of the craziest trauma centers.
Because there's not a lot.
There's not. I mean, they bring people from,
that's it. Yeah,
she's all the way from Kern, from Cal City area, all the way out to Hesperia and Phelan and all those areas in between. Right. So it's pretty nonstop.
So you're an educator.
I am.
So how did an educator and a nurse get together? From school or?
No, that's a
you
funny
didn't
story.
Hurt yourself, did you?
No. I well, what's funny is her best friend is a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. Her best friend was in nursing school with her. When I moved away to go to school in Santa Barbara, I went to school at UCSB.
You're a gaucho.
Yeah, I'm a gaucho.
Okay.
Yep. And wanted to stay out there, couldn't get hired out there. There just were no job openings. And moved back to the AV, the Antelope Valley, because they were hiring pretty vigorously out there at that time. So, and they were like the West Side School District where I work now.
So Santa Barbara is more academies and privates.
Yeah, and it's a smaller area, so they really don't have huge school districts.
But Antelope,
and there's no turnover. I mean, as you can imagine, people don't want to leave that.
They do their full stint right there. Why wouldn't you, right?
So, and I was in a group I was in their teacher education program at UCSB, and we had 16 other English people in that program with me. All of us trying to get hired when we finished. So, and not one of us ended up getting a job in Santa Barbara. So I think we all migrated away and back to wherever we came from. It was pretty nutty.
Your academics are right there, and none of you guys.
It was hard. And so my thoughts were, I'll leave, get a job in the AV, come back. a couple of years when something opens up. I'll just keep an eye out.
Yeah.
23 years later.
Oh my gosh. Strange
school.
how that happens. Right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, back to my wife. It was a good friend of mine who, once I moved back, she had recently gone through a divorce. I had recently gone through a divorce. So it's weird because it's a small community and
everybody knows your business.
Yeah, single people all get to kind of know each other, as funny as that story is. And then she introduced me to Betty. And yeah, I mean, we met, we started dating. We moved in together after like 2 months. And after 5 months, I asked her to marry me.
After 5 months?
Yeah.
You knew from the get-go.
Oh, man. Yeah. As soon as I saw her. Where was
what was it?
What was it? Oh man, she just I think, I don't know, you know how you just find that person and they just have that thing.
My wife as well, right? I met her in January.
Yeah.
We were married by September, right?
Yeah.
So I just sat there and she just said, well, I'm an educator, and I sat there and went, oh great, so they have a great health insurance policy, right? So I said, oh yeah, I'm good. This is it. Or was that the wrong thing?
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty, I don't know how cliche and lame it is to say love at first sight, but I guess in some ways it was that. And we were both older and had both previously been in marriges.
So you're an expert on that.
Yeah, I think you at that point you kind of you know what you're looking for.
You get rid of the noise
but it was and so here we've been married. We'll be married we'll be together 20 years in August, but married 19 years in October.
Well, she's beautiful. I've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed.
I
was like, wow, this is great. So
she's amazing.
You said that you were actually a skateboarder, right? So this is not very common. Skateboarder, what?
Yeah, I grew up. Skateboarding was my thing. So at one time it was cool. When I was younger, skateboarding went through its phases, I think, in the 70s and then in the 80s. Well, nowadays it's a lot different, skateboarding, it's kind of become, it's become just a part of American culture, I think now.
Pop culture. Absolutely. Yeah, you betcha.
At that time, though, it was kind of in and out of being cool. So in 8th grade, 7th grade, actually, for me, I got my first skateboard. By 8th grade, I was competing and just passionately practicing every day. And that pretty much lasted all through high school, but it kept me out of trouble.
Right.
I competed quite a bit. I've always been pretty competitive, I think, but I was never, I played soccer, but I never played baseball or football or any of those staple American sports. So, when I got into skateboarding, it was like, this is, not only is this what I love to do, but I want to be as good at this as I possibly can. And you get sponsors and you do all that stuff. But it was in and out of being popular, so it would be popular and then it would just be dead. And so there was just a very small crew of people that skateboarded out where I was, and it kind of lost its popularity. Yeah. And a lot of your friends in high school go on and, they buy cars and put their speakers in the back and
nothing wrong with that.
And find girls. And I mean, obviously I had lots of girlfriends obviously at high school, but my core, my core group of friends were all from skateboarding.
Wow.
And then we did the same thing with snowboarding when that got popular and got into that and got very serious about that as well. Moved to the mountains and lived for a few years and tried to do that. But at that time also, unlike today, it was new. And so, the only place that had a park locally where you could snowboard, unlike today, where pretty much entire mountains are dedicated to snowboarding, was Big Bear. So we lived up in Bear for a few years and again, did the sponsor thing and had sponsors and tried to pursue it. And then eventually had to decide, do I want to keep chucking myself off these jumps and potentially damaging myself for the rest of my life? Or do I want to buckle down and get serious about something else, and that's when I decided to go away to college.
But you got you've taken a lot of your skills, lower body balance, right, and brought it to shooting, right?
Yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah, and shooting, the way I found it is, I think I had purchased a gun like many people for home protection.
Yeah.
And because I didn't grow up, my dad didn't have any. My dad had a 20 gauge shotgun that he would take us out and let us shoot every once in a great while. But I had a couple friends in high school who had dads who were into hunting and into guns, and I'd go out with them and shoot. But I didn't have any guns, as I got older. Yeah. But naturally purchased one for home protection, obviously, and just enjoyed going to the range and shooting it, and then. Started going to this little defensive pistol match that they had at the local range.
Not an IDPA.
They ran it like IDPA. It was at Desert Marksman, which is a little range off of Angeles Crest, which is outside of Acton.
Right.
And they have one tactical range bay. Okay. And they would set up 4 stages on that bay. And then we'd all shoot that stage just and rotate. Then move to the next.
Okay.
And so I started doing that, and I was like, man, this is fun. And those guys were like, well, there's
You were shooting the Glock.
I was shooting my Glock 9. Yeah, I had purchased a Springfield XD as my home protection.
Of course.
Yeah, I think everybody has had at least one Springfield in their lives. And then I had purchased, funny enough, a Beretta PX4 Storm, which I just thought was a cool gun, because it has that barrel, what do they call it, a reciprocating barrel?
And it was on sale.
It was on sale, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be off the roster. If you're going to get one, get one now." And of course, you can still buy them today. But when I started doing the competition thing, I realized that a Glock was a better option. So I took that. I should have held on to that PX4. I actually took it to the pawn shop. That's where most of our guns are purchased.
Of course.
We didn't have Turners. Okay. Back then. And I traded it in on a brand new Glock 19. And then so I found out about that because I'd go to that range and shoot from time to time. And on their website they advertised this, and then they told me about Americana 1800, which is the range. Up in Green Valley, which is only about 20 minutes.
First organized IDPA
organized IDPA match was there, and I have a great story.
Oh, I want to hear that. Come on,
about my first match. So to shoot that match, I don't think this is the case today, but back then, if you're not a member of the range, which I was not, you had to do this little class/clinic that they did to teach you the rules and make sure you were going to handle your gun safely. And so I went to that clinic. They set up a little mini stage, and then they set up a full IDPA stage, and they start you on the mini stage and go over the rules and making ready and so on and so forth. And then they take you up to the main range and let you run through it a few times on the timer. So I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I was excited about it. And I couldn't get any other of my friends to go. So I'm like, I'm doing this all by myself. So I show up the next month for the match. First stage of the day, and at that time, really cool crew there. That's where I met Dean and Lupe. Bell.
No way.
And they were there, and John Joy and Mike Yarish, and of course Derek Zavada and Katie Rowe, which they were. I mean, Derek was always been a big part of basically not running the match. He's not the match director.
He's like Mr. IDPA. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so he was a big part of that match. And so I didn't know any of these guys. I'm just meeting everybody. I think Bobby Zachary and cool crew. A lot of the same people that I began, that when I eventually moved on to Prado, shot with. But first stage for me, I step up to the line. It's a table start, so you have to stage your magazines and your gun.
Yeah.
And so I step up to the line, to the table, take all my magazines out, put them on the table, take out my gun, put it on the table, and as people do, everyone's kind of talking in the background, not really paying attention.
Yeah.
And then Katie was the SO for the stage, and she walks up and she looks at me and she looks at the table and she's like, I didn't direct you to stage your gun or your mags. You're not supposed to do that until I give you direction. I said, oh, it's my first match. Sorry. And I think I literally reached to grab my gun and to put it back in my holster or something. I don't know what I did, but at any rate, she said, I'm gonna have to DQ you. I'm like, I kind of looked back at everybody with these sympathetic eyes, like, come on, man, somebody stick. Yeah, I didn't really know anybody yet, so somebody say something. It's my first match. I made a mistake, but yep, no. She said, you're DQ'd. You're gonna have to go home. And that was that first match. Didn't even get to shoot the first stage. Got DQ'd. So I learned a valuable lesson, obviously about IDPA. But
how'd you make it back from that? I'm sorry.
It's an embarrassing story. Well, what's really even even funnier is, I'm telling all my friends the week prior, I'm going to shoot an IDPA match. I'm telling my wife, I'm building it up. It's just a local, fun little local match. But I was excited because it was my first match. And of course I have to go home and I walk in, to my wife is like, why are you home, sir? I thought you were shooting a match. And I had to tell her the story. I tell all my friends. Everybody's asking me, how'd the match go? Well, I got DQ'd on my first stage. I didn't even get to shoot the match, But yeah, funny story. But like I said, a good lesson. And humbling, as this sport. One thing it's good at doing is humbling.
And there's an endless amount of new shooters out there that I'm sure that are probably definitely afraid of doing exactly what you did.
Yeah, well, and I mean, a lot of matches, what's funny is without, I got a lot of great instruction prior to going to that, which I really appreciated because, nowadays, obviously there's at a lot of matches, if you're a new shooter, there's the new shooter briefing and they'll kind of go over the rules and stuff, which is good. But, I can't imagine. I just remember being, very intimidated, obviously, too, just showing up and having all those guys who I knew all knew each other really well.
All masters now.
All masters now. Yeah, as crazy as that
experts
is.
and masters. Oh my God!
Just some of the best shooters.
You are shooting with the top 2%. Yeah. Right now, and you enjoy that.
I do. I absolutely do. I enjoy. But most of all, as I think what IDPA has become and what the people that we shoot with have become is family.
Community, absolutely.
It's such an amazing community, and from day one of shooting, that's anywhere you go, any match you go to, everybody is amazing, and just some of the best people you meet in this sport, and that's been one of the the most attractive things to doing what we do is just the people that you meet and get to be around. And I can't thank like Dean Lupe and Fred Johnson and Howard and everybody that we shoot with on Squad One, Scott and John and Mike and Joe, everybody, and of course Jason, who was a huge influence and inspiration in the beginning as well. I can't tell you how much those guys have helped me and helped me grow
and me as well. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and that's what I think most of us, we enjoy the most is just coming to matches and hanging out with everybody and then competing with each other and pushing each other and watching each other grow and compete and become better.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of sports where you get to be in a group situation like that and really support each other and watch each other grow. Team sports, but not everybody, if you play football, everybody's kind of at a different position doing a different thing.
Right.
So
but
in
always
this sport, we're
working together,
even though we're shooting different divisions and different guns, we're all kind of, striving for the same thing, to be the best that we can be and progress and just get better each match.
Except the PCC guys.
Except for the PCC.
And So you've been at Optic Masters since November of last year.
Yes, sir.
So have you mastered anything else?
No, I haven't. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, do I continue on this road and just keep pushing? It's hard. It's hard to think about going to other divisions because, especially as much work as we put in with one gun and just getting really good at what we do and continuing to progress.
Right.
One, the competition, the level of competition gets extremely difficult at these sanctioned matches.
Right. Oh, by the way, you're shooting with pros now.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. You're shooting with pros now. And you're shooting. I had contemplated going to the Nationals this year and decided against it just because I really didn't want to shoot. I didn't want to shoot all in one day. Number one.
Yeah.
In that heat and humidity of Talladega, as much as I really, if I was going to do it, if I go to the Nationals, I'd really like to do it, in a 2-day, and have that even playing field with that group.
That is a long day. Just try to shoot it.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It's hard shooting 10 stages or 8 stages in one day, or 6 stages.
So I staff it quite often, and so they allow us to just shoot as much as you can the first day, and then come back and finish it up the next day. But still, even that is just a long day. Right?
Well, and especially in August in Talladega. I
mean, you know what that's like.
I wish they would. I know back. I don't know, a few years ago at least, they used to do it in October. Or
September. Yeah, October? My birthday. So that I just go there and spend the whole 10 days there. And, and my wife would go, okay, well, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, all right, see ya.
Yeah.
That don't always go over very well.
I can't imagine.
But shooting the Nationals all in one day, that's definitely a marathon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's 14 stages.
That's a different skill. Right? So, different skill set. Sure.
I don't think I didn't want to take the time and the money and everything and then not be able to have the best opportunity to do
your best. Yeah, so, absolutely.
But it was a tough decision because I want to go to a Nationals at some point.
Yeah.
And I'd like to shoot carry optics at Nationals, at the one class, the division that I shoot the most, if I go. So, but yeah, still it's, I've considered going back to ESP and trying to get bumped in that. I go back and forth. Got a couple sanction matches coming up later this year. I'm still kind of playing with that idea a little bit, but
do you think you can make the transition back to iron sights?
That's a good question. It's been a long time since I've shot irons in a match, you know.
So it was easy for me because I went from PCC to carry optics. I wanted to try to see if I can shoot a carry optic as fast as a PCC.
Yeah.
And it was getting close, right? And I still think that carry optics is probably the fastest platform out there. Yeah. Faster than PCC because it's size and its mobility and stuff, and it just needs the right kind of guy, right? Yeah. So or girl, right? So now I went to Bug. I'm not sure why. Bug is a whole different animal in itself, and if you guys haven't ever shot Bug, I would just recommend that you try it one time.
I've debated just shooting a local match, trying it out and seeing how because I watch Fred, who's lately at least been shooting a lot of Bug, and it just the stage planning,
right,
and reloads alone.
It is not just you go out there and try to hose it down, right? Yeah. So Fred and Scott Meyer were mentors of mine. So I put, I sat there and I begged them, please help me with this stuff. So Scott and Fred, first they laughed at me.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, all right, great. Yeah, we need more people in Bug."
Torture yourself.
Yeah, so I went out there, and it's you can't mess around with a Bug.
No,
right? You miss it, it's over for you.
Yeah,
right. So you have to. Yeah, it's one of those speed accuracy.
I enjoy watching. I mean, especially Scott and Fred. I mean, they're amazing shooters, and they do really well with it. I need to squad with you, and because I know you've got to be getting really good at it at this point.
Picking up speed. Yeah. Anthony is twice as fast.
Yeah, Anthony.
He's been young
really
eyes.
well.
Oh
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
And he's shooting that SIG 6 hour, right? So the P365, and he's taking that thing to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Right. And
he's a good shooter.
I sat there, I'm like, oh my goodness. So, but Bug is definitely entertaining. So, but we are moving up to CCP soon, right? As soon as Washington's over. I'll be shooting Washington this month, and then getting ready for.
You're going to shoot CCP in Vegas? Is that your plan?
Vegas? Yeah, Yeah, so I'll be over there. But again, I have those LEM triggers, which are the huge pull on it.
Yeah.
And
what gun are you going to shoot CCP?
P. It's I shoot an SK right now, HK, and then I'll be shooting the bigger brother, the P 2000.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you're good at no matter what you shoot.
You know what? So, Thank you so much for that. You're so nice.
And you do such a great job of adapting and figuring out what you need to do to be amazing with that gun. So that's what's fun to see.
I see it as just 1, 2, 3, right? You just make sure that you got a great grip, right? Yeah. You can see the sights.
They follow you through
always back to basics,
no matter what you're shooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's. I envy the guys going back and forth between the different guns. I think it's something I've just shot carry optic for so long, and I'm so comfortable, and I feel like I've gotten to the level now where I've especially with shooting the Atlas, because it took me a minute to adjust to that platform and to that gun, and now I hate to move on to something else.
Why'd you choose an Atlas?
Oh man. So I shot Glock 34. Once I moved from the 19 to the 34, I shot 34 forever, and I loved that gun. I had it set up exactly how I wanted it. The trigger and everything was beautiful. But just the first time I saw an Atlas and I just racked that slide and pulled that trigger, I was like, I gotta have one of these.
Machining.
Yeah, they are just an absolutely phenomenally built gun, and so many. And when I first saw one, it was a while back. There weren't a lot of 2011s out. Right. There were Staccatos, STI at the time.
Yeah.
And there might have been a couple other gun makers, maybe custom built ones from, like Matt McLaren or some of these other custom gun builders were making them. But, now there's just so many amazing guns. 2011s, with the masterpiece on.
Let's take a look at Jeff's gun.
This is the Atlas Nix 2011, 4.25 inch bull barrel. We're going to go ahead and break it down, show you the insides of it. I'm running the Trijicon SRO. Really, the only optic I've run in competition has been the SRO. I did run a Delta Point early on, but as many people know, that optic can have its issues. So you'll see that it's got a lot of oil, so it's a little slick. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out. One of the great features of the Atlas guns is their new guide rod. 4.25 inch barrel, Atlas, great company. Adam, Morgan, the crew over there, can't say enough good things about them, how helpful they've been with anything. Got a lot of great videos on YouTube to help you with anything you need to do with the gun, from breaking it down to cleaning to fixing some of the minor issues you might run into. But it's a great gun. Been running it now for just about a little over a year. Put it back together. Line her up. Down there. Let's try that one more time. And we're going to throw it in the box here. Show you that it fits. I didn't bring a magazine, sorry. But with the slanted magazines, the IDPA magazine that Atlas has, you'll see that you have that little bit of angle right there, and that mag fits perfectly in there. Gun weighs just about a little over 44 ounces, so you're right there for weight on carry optic and ESP. And it's been a great gun so far, man. Can't say enough good things about it.
So I would have to say very impressive.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gun. I can't.
Oh my goodness.
I can't emphasize enough about how much.
I love the toolless.
The toolless guide rod.
Yeah, I made I think 100 of those little clips.
Paper, just take a paper clip and bend it on the end.
Yeah. So I bought a utility wire and just shoot, an inch and a half, and
because you never have one.
Because you keep on, you keep on losing those damn things, totally. Right? But when you just flip, I'm like, Oh,
yeah, the toolless guide rod setup that they have is, and they've gone through. I think this is the second iteration. They've had a couple, but this one now is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like those guns come, I did have another 2011 briefly before this one. I had a one built by Matt McLaren that I got, and it took a lot of time to break in. I went through a ton of different springs, and it obviously he's building a custom gun builder, but when the guns come from Atlas, they are just ready to go. You can trust it, and they put they spend a lot of time in quality control. I've honestly, I have not had, knock on wood, one malfunction with that
really
gun. I think I had a light strike, which was a primer issue, which is a reloading issue. Had nothing to do with the gun, but that's it. Like that gun has been flawless, and they do an amazing job at Atlas, making sure that when their gun comes out of there, it's ready to go.
The grip itself was very aggressive. I noticed.
Yeah, and they make an even more aggressive one than that one, which
oh my gosh.
I've only felt one, and it's nasty. Like I don't know that I want to deal with that. Like my hands already are, just from dry firing with it on a regular basis, get pretty raw.
Yeah.
But yeah, the crew at Atlas is amazing. Like I said, Adam and Morgan and I think Randy's still there. I've talked to Randy a handful of times. He's helped me out with a couple things, but everybody's amazing there. Their guns are a little pricey.
Yeah,
but I think you really get what you pay for when you get a gun from them.
Why did you choose the SRO?
Well, I started shooting the SRO with my Glock. Obviously, I started with a Delta Point. Had issue after issue with that optic. So I got the SRO, and I haven't changed. Since. I see a lot of people now shooting the Holosun, the 507, the bigger one. And it looks nice, but I'm comfortable with that SRO. I have not had issues with the SRO.
Yeah.
I've gone through 3 or 4. I have a couple on my other guns and no issues with that optic. So I just stick with what works. Well built optic. I'm not saying that Holosuns aren't well built. I'm sure they're just as, and especially now after as much time as Holosun spent building optics.
I had a Holosun on my PCC, and that was phenomenal, right? AR, especially with the halo, the ring around it, right? So I can do calculations on the fly.
Yeah.
But when you get to a handgun, right? Yeah, it's a lot smaller. My eyes aren't as young as they used to be, right? I just rather just give me a dot and I'll just go to town, right? Yeah, and that's a lot easier. So.
Yeah, and that's really why that's where I'm back and forth with going back to irons. I don't have the best eyes. One of the reasons I went to carry, two reasons. One, it's so, like you said, it's faster. Everyone shooting carry optics was faster. And two, my eyes, and it's so much easier with your eyes, dealing with that dot and just putting it on target. And
for me, iron sights, right? It's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right? But with an optic, right? I mean, it's there.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So all you have to do is line up the dot and go, right?
Absolutely.
But I don't know how you're going to make that.
Fiber optics are, they make a difference and they help a lot, but there's that side picture is so small too, it's
half the time I
really admire those guys that are just as fast, Nils and some of these guys that come to these IDPA matches and it just rip everybody apart with irons. That's amazing to me. I just think that's awesome. I admire the hell out of that. But yeah, I think with my eyes, it just makes life so much easier. So thought of going back to irons is, I don't know. I'd probably just need to put irons on and go to the range and spend a little bit of time and see how it feels, see what it's like, before I really make a decision, which is kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Probably taking one of the Glocks out. I do have a 17 with irons on it. Well, it's got the Bob Vogel, the fiber optics on it.
Of course.
And we'll see how that goes. So I need to do that. I don't spend, in the summertime especially, I have an indoor range where I'm at, that I'll go to ReZero optics and stuff.
Yeah.
But getting out to the range in the summertime is tough. I have to get up really early, and
because of the temperature and stuff. Okay,
it's too nasty.
So you're in the middle of Bakersfield, Piru, and Prado, right?
Yes,
so,
sir. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
yeah, which lends itself to being able to go to as many matches as I do, because I've, after my kids, after my kids moved out, that's when I started getting into the gun thing and had a lot more time on my hands. My wife works 12-hour shifts, so I had to figure out something to fill my time with, because otherwise I'm going crazy. And that's when I started the shooting thing, and people always ask, man, you shoot a lot of matches every month.
You do.
Well, I'm like, I'm right here, so in the middle of all these great matches. So Bakersfield, after Americana, where I started, I found out about Bakersfield, started going out to their match, an amazing group of people out there as well, all who have become like family. Yeah. I did my first sanctioned match was the Western. I don't remember what year that was, but it was with them. We all squatted. I squatted with the Bakersfield crew, and they were great, man. They were helping me out all day and kind of telling me what to beware of. And I got through the whole match with, without making any major mistakes or getting DQ'd.
Like
so I guess
putting
that's a plus.
gun on a table or something.
But so they've been, and it's still a lot of the same crew out there, and I still shoot out there every month. I love it.
Do you have a lot of like first time IDPA shooters in Squad 1 ever?
Rarely, very rarely.
I understand that you guys are all masters in it. That's a pretty intimidating squad to be on.
It was an intimidating squad. Yeah, I when I started shooting Prado, I was with Mike Johnson. I don't know how. I think the first match I just happened to squad with Mike. Rest in just a great, funny, and amazing person. And that was cool. So he was funny, and he made it. He wasn't really serious, which made going there a lot easier to do. But I wanted to, I think I started following Jason Miyashiro on Instagram. At that point, Instagram was getting real popular.
Yeah.
So I saw Jason and saw how good he was, and he'd always do such a great job of making good videos and filming his entire match and breaking down his stages and putting his times and win every time. Pretty much consistently. Just was winning and fun to watch shoot, obviously.
So I sat there and I go, well, so I just need to do what he's doing, right? And he's half my size, and I sat there. The very first thing that came to my mind was, I can't move like that. Yeah. And I'm like, how the hell do I move like that? And I spent almost 2 years trying to figure out how to move like that. There's no way. Yeah. Yeah. He is insane what he does. Yes.
Yeah, he is fast. Well, and he's an amazing athlete, obviously. Yeah. I mean, he's a personal trainer.
Well, there's a lot of great guys that are huge in it. Like, Dean, right? Dean is fit.
So Squad 1, I met Jason Grant, and him and I became pretty close friends, and we started shooting with Bill, which taught me a ton. Obviously we started shooting Bill's squad, and learned a lot about, Bill, again, another amazing shooter and fun to watch, but learned a lot about the rules. And Bill was great, because he'd always tell you your draw the first shot. And he'll let you know, when you did something wrong, and not only that, but he'll let you know how, here's what you could have done differently. And here's again, building up and pushing that progression. But one day I told Jason, I said, next month or next match, let's try to squad in Squad 1. Let's try to get in there. So back then, you'd have to wake up right at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning to get in there, because it filled up with that crew, So we got in that and squatted with them, and from that point forward, it was this is the squad I want to be in. Dean and Lupe were amazing. I can't tell you how much I've learned from Dean, and just and if Fred wasn't SOing, Dean was SOing, and every time we'd step up to the line, Dean would say, "Okay, look, so here's." You're going to take your time here.
That's awesome.
You're going to, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. No matter, and still today, he's always got something encouraging or positive or something helpful to say, and I just welcome it and can't thank him enough. Yeah. Or any of those guys, and that whole crew was amazing. They were just welcoming. Yeah. And which I didn't think was going to be the case, because just showing up that first day and squatting with them was very intimidating, because everybody is so close already and knows each other and is laughing and joking, having a great time, and here we are kind of on the outskirts, and I think it's kind of that way for anybody that squats today, and they feel,
of course they have that persona, right?
But even today, everybody comes up to the new shooter that's in the squad that day and it's like, hey, my name's so and so, and you know, and they're always helpful and encouraging, and that's just what's amazing about, you know, not just squad one, but everybody, again, that we shoot with. Most people that we shoot with are like that. So, but yeah, I can't say enough about how much that crew helped me progress.
Yeah,
because
and it definitely shows.
Absolutely would not be where I am today without those guys. I can't thank them enough. And yeah, I don't want to miss anybody's name. I mean, I feel like I need to name everybody in there. But yeah, I mean, and once, you know, and Dave War, of course, also.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how often do you get to shoot with a distinguished master? So,
not very often.
And man, is that guy, he is so good about giving advice and helping you. And he's not, you know, I mean, all of them are, but Dave's one of those guys that will kind of take you aside.
You're very fortunate.
Call you out in front of everybody else and be like,
very fortunate if you get to shoot with him. Absolutely.
What did you do when you moved from this position to this position? And I'll be like, and he'll be like, okay, so next time, you know, and you know, do this or change that.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like, I feel like I need to pay these guys for some advice because it's so valuable. To the progression of the sport and just becoming a better shooter. That so very thankful that I found Squad One, and now I just look at all those guys as family and would do anything for all of them, you know.
Well, I definitely am welcoming when I see you guys at other matches, especially regionals, right? And I say, "Oh, Jeff's here." I'm like, "Oh," so now I feel a lot more comfortable, right? I'm like, "Oh, I'm home."
I feel the same way when we see people,
right? So,
well, and I remember the first year I went to the regional or the Western, the Western regional. It's Prado, like I don't remember if you, and I'm sure you were in that group, but there was a photo of everybody that won plaques.
At the Western.
At the Western.
It was everybody.
Everybody. Like the entire Prado crew had a plaque. Yeah. And Jason had like 3 of them. He had like division
champion, right?
And it was just, I still have that photo on my phone somewhere. I think I screenshotted it from Instagram.
Yeah.
Somebody had took it.
Right.
And I was just like, it just goes to show the caliber of shooters that we get to shoot with on a regular basis. And how blessed we are to have so many amazing shooters to shoot with.
Well, I mean, everybody has to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that's where they start. They come up, and now they're all growing up, such as yourself. Now you're a master.
I mean, I appreciate you. You've been nothing
You have
but
a lot more
Well.
responsibility.
I mean, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're so nice.
And I can't, you know, it's been fun. I mean, I love being able to, you know, have found this sport and do it and compete at the level that we do. It's
definitely compete.
It's just so much fun. So, yeah.
Well, there you go, Jeff Rycebosch. So, hey, special shout out to the viewers that hit our super thanks button. This is your support, busy at work. We appreciate your help and support. Thank you very much for doing that. Please consider being a part of our shooting community, building relationships around safe gun practice and IDPA competition. My name is Paul G, and this is
Jeff Rycebosch.
Please be safe, and we shall see you on the range.
Like, share, subscribe.